controversial things. Now, Don Luskin, I do not agree with Mr. Paul's anti-war views. I do not agree with his foreign policy views. But on his monetary opinions, I want to give you the first whack because I found them very interesting.
They're fantastic. I mean, Larry, just step back and realize how amazing it is. We have not had a presidential candidate who talked about free markets, who talked about monetary reform, who talked about tax reform the way Ron Paul does since Steve Forbes ran for president. Bravo, bravissimo, go Ron Paul.
All right, Steve Forbes, your name was just mentioned. Now, Steve, gold and silver is legal tender. Well, I think that's sensible. I don't agree about abolishing the central bank, but competing currencies on deposit, why not? These things have come up in the past. Those are pretty good ideas, aren't they?
Well, you sort of have competing currencies now. People can easily go in and out of currencies. But the key thing is to tie the dollar to a price range for gold. The dollar is solid. Let the other currencies in the world go all over the parking lot. Well, they'll come to us because we have a rock-solid currency, and that'll be good for the economy and good for the global economy as well. Have the dollar as good as gold.
So you do not agree with me that we can have a system of floating exchange rates on the one side as long as we have domestic price stability at home. In other words, the price rule is a 2% inflation rate rather than gold. You want the gold.
Well, I think a range of gold is the best way to do it, because how do you measure inflation? You can have a whole theological argument on that. Remember, the price of computing power goes down 50% every 18 months. In Ben Bernanke's eyes, that would be, gosh, that's deflation. He ignores productivity. We should probably have falling prices, but these guys won't let it happen.
All right, gentlemen, real quick, Michael Metz, what's your take on the Ron Paul plans?
I'd make 2 points. One is there is no relationship between the price of gold and inflation for the last 25 years. Secondly, since we've had floating exchange rates, you've had the greatest prosperity the world has ever known.
That's an important point, Michael. That's an important point. The floating exchange rate system has worked as long as we can anchor it with low inflation and low interest rates at home. Jim LeCamp, your thought?
Well, sometimes I think these libertarians who ought to want to legalize drugs, I think they're smoking pot. But in this case, I like the idea of competing currencies. It's too hard to do it with other currencies. I like the idea of using gold and silver.
All right, we're going to leave it there, gentlemen. You're great. Steve Forbes, thank you ever so much. Ditto, Don Luskin. Ditto, Jim LeCamp. Michael Metz, as always. Up next, my last word. Cuddle on.